Ciao, come stai? Benvenuti. Welcome to Soccer Over There. It is your more Italian host, Nick Leafy, wearing the throwback retro 1994 Azzurri team jackets that I picked up while I was on my adventures overseas.
More Italian host?
Yeah, more so.
I'm
Scandinavian anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I'm just saying that it's more now because I went over and did not just do the tourist trips, guys. I did not just do the tourist trips of like, we're going to Rome and we're going to Florence and we're going to Venice. It's going to be amazing. No, we went off the beaten path. We visited family in Padova, and it was an unbelievable experience. But I have lots of stories.
And Alexi Lawless actually responded to you.
Which is crazy. Which is absolutely
cool.
crazy.
I know he loved his time in Padova, so when you mentioned that, I'm sure he really appreciated that.
And that's really the crazy thing, is that when I found this amazing secondhand shop in Padova, and we were in there hanging out, and these Croatian dudes showed up, and they did not want to talk about anything outlandish. They were talking a little Champions League action, and then they found out I was from Atlanta, and they only wanted to talk about Trae Young.
That's pretty cool, though.
Which is really cool,
yeah.
Right? They were like, "Oh, Trae Young, great handles, really awesome, good shooter." I'm like, yeah, "This is all very true." And then I mentioned Alexi Lawless, and they said Alexi was a legend because he would go out into they have, first of all, the town squares and everything that they have out in Padova are beyond beautiful, right? And Alexi would go out there with his guitar and just play music for the locals. Not being pretentious, not being stuck up at all. He would just go out there and play. He really interacted with the community. And they said because of that, he is a legend in that town. So I thought that was very, very cool that happened. And
what level's Padova at now?
I believe Padova is a Series C side right now. So they're having some, a lot of the clubs, and we discussed this, are having financial trouble. And we discussed Atlanta United and how we were able to put in, anywhere between 50,000 to 75,000 fans at one time. And he said, and the proprietor of the shop, who you're going to meet in a video that I'll be posting a little later on, he said, what's crazy is that that's not your guys' first sport. It's not like American football. It's not like baseball. And yet you guys are able to put between 50 to 75,000 fans in a stadium. And here, if you turn on Serie A, they can't put people in the seats. And part of the reason is because the outcomes are essentially determined, right? Like, at the end of the season that Juve, Inter, and Napoli.
I was about to say, Inter might have something to say about this.
Exactly, yeah, are going to be at the top. This. And so I said, well, here's the thing. In the MLS, we have the salary cap, and as a result, it's anybody has a shot outside of a few clubs, but almost anybody has a shot. And so he really liked the idea of a salary cap, the fact that it could be sort of a level playing field for these guys. He didn't necessarily like the lack of promotion and relegation. He thought that kind of stunk, but he really appreciated the fact, that anyone could be competitive. And we also discussed the issue of racism in Italy, where he informed me that he was a Lazio fan, right? So Pierluigi and tells me, he says, "Man, I'm a Lazio fan. I have a Lazio tattoo." And he could see my reaction. And he said, "That's the same reaction I get from everyone when I tell them that I'm a Lazio supporter." And he pointed his finger up. He said, "Take a look at this jersey." And it was a Lazio jersey that said, "Lazio supporters against racism." This isn't like some sticker. It's actually like cooked on to the jersey. It is a part of the jersey. And he showed me stickers that said Lazio supporters against racism. And he said, "I get it. I get what the stigma is about our team, and it stinks." He said, "But it's the Curva Nord. It is not the entire fan base. Mm-hmm. We hate those guys, but there's nothing we can do about it, because if you boot them out of the stadium, they're more heavily armed than the cops." And we've talked numerous times about how the Ultras have other enterprises that make it a little more difficult. Hold on, we have someone who shows up.
So I've been to a Lazio match.
Okay. Well, first identify yourself, good sir.
I'm Jim Morrison. I'm a Glasgow Rangers fan.
All right, there we go.
And I can't remember who they were playing, but I was in the stadium. Just wanted to took my wife to Rome. Wanted to see a match. Lazio were on, and the opposing fans were behind us, and they were in a caged fence. And then there was a rumpus, and I looked behind. They managed to smuggle a Vespa into that cage.
Wait, what?
A Vespa.
They brought a whole scooter.
Like a scooter.
A Vespa scooter.
Okay.
And they threw it over
the fence.
Over the fence
Wow.
into the fans below.
That takes some doing.
That is next level.
But saying that, obviously, those are the opposing fans. I was in Rome. It wasn't the Lazio fans. It was whoever was playing them. So I guess the moral of the story is that they're all as bad as each other.
That's what he was saying. He said that the ultras, and this is one thing I heard from Roma fans who did not want to go on camera because their job requires them to have a certain in sort of anonymity. They can't be involved as they can't show favoritism, but they would say it's an ultra problem. It's a worldwide ultra problem where you have people who are small in numbers and yet absolutely psychotic.
Yeah, I mean, this was madness. Seeing a Vespa scooter dropping 30, 40 feet.
That's new.
That's no small object, like we're talking about something that weighs. I mean, what does anybody want to venture a guess as to how much a Vespa would weigh? I mean, that would take a significant amount.
It's a good 25, 30 pounds.
170 pounds. Yeah.
At least. And so, but he did lament the fact that, he understands what the stigma is on that team. And he says, I have to cover up my Lazio tattoo when we go out in town in Rome. He lives in Padova now, but he has to cover it up.
But then you get guys like Paolo Di Canio that just play into it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
absolutely
out and out fascist supporter, and
It is. It is something where when you have people who are of that ideology and they believe that they have an audience, they have no problems playing up to it. And you're 100% correct. Is that Paulo did? He completely stepped up and said, "I will be your standard bearer." And when we asked about what could be done about the racism and the fascism in Serie A, he said nothing. Nothing can be done because there's too much money coming in from it, and they're too aggressive and they're too violent, and the team owners don't want to deal with it.
But that's got nothing on Argentina, where the teams have actually got, or the fan groups have got the clubs by the short and curlies.
Yeah, and it's something where up in we've talked about before where some of the ultra groups had automatic weapons. There's like a and thanks, Jeff. Thank you for coming through, man. And an air-to-air missile, and I mean, it's absolutely insane. But
it's actually interesting you mentioned Argentina, because the reason why the Lazio supporter said that nothing can be done, and the reason when we talked to Gustavo in Argentina about these different things, it's different than what you saw in the 80s with hooliganism in England, because it's organized crime. Like, it's not just racism. It's not just fascism. It's not just people throwing Vespas or, as we saw, Newell's fans throwing toilets. It's not just that. There's an organized crime element to it.
Exactly.
And it's embedded in so many of the clubs that it's not easy to just say, okay, yeah, if you do this, you're out of the stadium.
Right.
Because those are people who, you've got clubs, you've got different entities by the short and curlies. You do.
And I'll give you guys an example here. My cousin is a cop in Padova. He's one of 4 street cops that they have. 4. So if there's some real dumb things popping off at the Padova Stadium, and from having met the good people of Padova, I can say that's absolutely not going to happen. But there's 4 of them. You think they're going to go get in a car, like a small sedan, and go charging up to the stadium to get that secured?
I believe that'd be a nope.
No. Boys, I heard something's popping off the stadium. Anybody want to go get a spritz? Yep, let's go get a spritz. That would be Nick Alifi's answer. Thankfully, my cousin is a very brave man and would absolutely go do what is right. But I'm just saying, Nick Alifi's answer would be, boys, we're getting Aperol spritzes and calling it today. They can sort it out. But it's amazing to me from firsthand hearing from the Italians themselves, their views on the racism, the fascism, and the funding. When we were walking through Florence, I read a sign that, and keep in mind, my Italian is like a functioning 1.5-year-old, right? I mean, I cannot believe that Michelle Akers retweeted me, but essentially I can get to a train station on time, I can find the right train, and I can order apocalyptic levels of alcohol.
These are the important things.
These are the important things when you're traveling to Europe. And I misinterpreted a sign where they were talking about how Rocco Commisso was wanting to invest in a new stadium for Fiorentina. And I said, oh, they're arguing in city council. He goes, no, you misinterpret. This is one of the guys we had for the street tour that our family took. And he said, no, they were actually fist fighting in City Hall over the funding for this stadium. So,
wow.
So it is
not a debate.
No, not a debate. And again, it's because the cities own a lot of the stadiums. They own all the infrastructure, and so it's a great revenue generator for them. And if the teams come in and take ownership of that, and we get an Arthur Blank who comes in and just says, hey, I'm going to buy a new stadium, and I'm going to build this and build that. I mean, Commisso's already said he's going to build a brand new state-of-the-art training facility for them. Mm-hmm. There's talk of him wanting to build a new stadium, and so the city government itself is on edge, but the fans are going nuts over it. They love it.
It's like what Juventus did, right? How
right.
Juve built their own new stadium.
Exactly. And so, for Florence that doesn't have a two-team solution like Turin has, where they can say, hey, well, we at least got this other stadium over here we can still work with. I mean, Florence is kind of like, well, what happens with us? Well, fam, you better find a new way to market this thing. Mm-hmm. You better find a new way to get revenue generation, because otherwise your team's not going to be competitive. And
Pink Floyd reunion concerts.
Yes, there you go. That's exactly how we're going to do it.
That's what I got.
I mean, we can figure it out.
That's the first thing I'm booking.
I think that's a solid suggestion. But it's something where the money has to be sorted, and right now in the Italian government, if you are not familiar with what's going on in Venice right now, they had a system called the Mose system, which was supposed to be sort of it's a barrier that comes up out of the ocean to help block the higher tides, the acqua alta, from coming in and being absolutely destructive on the city. Yes, the city would still flood, but it wouldn't be nearly as catastrophic as it has been for the past couple of weeks. The system is like $20 billion in the can, and there's nothing to show for it, right? Like and so the citizens are like, well, why should we worry about anything that involves you getting money? Because you guys have no clue what you're doing anyway. But they are, I can tell you, the city of Florence is very excited about what Rocco Commisso is bringing to the table. They don't know that much about him. Our guide was asking me, what do you know about Rocco? And I was able to give him all the stuff that happened over here stateside. And the same with our friend up in Padua, secondhand. And they all, they're all excited about it. Jim Pilata, not so much. They're obviously they're looking for a little bit of a better solution. And I can tell you, for anyone who wants to know, there is not one bit of progress on that Roma stadium. Not one. Not one little bit has been done. And I was on the ground there. I can tell you there's nothing being done with it. So it's very interesting to see what's going on right now in Italy. And guys, I cannot even begin to tell you the stuff that is up at secondhand. I'm cutting this guy a free ad. He didn't want me to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Let's do this.
It is a museum of stuff. I found throwback Allen Iverson jerseys, Michael Vick jerseys, the Atlanta Black Crackers jacket that was there. I mean, you're talking, everything you want, Serie D, Serie C, autographed Liverpool jerseys, autographed...
Sakib?
Sakib. Autographed kits, game-worn kits, and it's a 20-minute train ride from Venice. And so I've had people who DM'd me and asked me about, well, what should I do when I'm in Italy? I'm going to be cutting a series of videos that we'll be putting up on the site. It's not soccer specific, but it is, if you go to Europe, especially in Italy, and you want to go catch games, here's what you can do outside of the games as well. So think of like Anthony Bourdain in soccer. We're going to get the back alleys. And,
Nicolefi parts unknown.
That's it. Nicolefi parts unknown. We're going to figure it out, but it's in the back alleys, the snacks to get, the bars to hit up, everything you need to know if you travel through Italy. And the most important thing, get out of the trifecta of Rome, Florence, and Venice. 20-minute train ride to Padua. Me and my cousin, we went and we hit up this medieval, like, hillside town that was almost perfectly preserved. No Americans in the bars, no tourists in the bars, and an absolutely amazing scene. So with that, I open the floor to questions.
All right, let's start with Serie A on the field this weekend.
Okay.
Juventus is not in first place anymore.
No, they're not, which is really crazy. And first of all, let's give a shout out for the Sassuolo keeper who put on the game of his life.
18?
Yeah. And against Juve. And Juve's not the unbeatable machine of recent years, and the age is starting to show up. Ronaldo is not what he was, and it's not a knock on him. It's not a slap at him. It's just the fact that as you get older, you can only do so much. And I think that the best comparison to Juve is when Tiger Woods was not like, I'm going to destroy the entire universe Tiger Woods, and instead was kind of like, I'm just going to be steady Tiger Woods as the injuries began to mount. And Sunday he would show up with the red shirt. Right. And he would be paired with someone, and the person would find some catastrophic way to screw up, and Tiger would just stay steady. I think that's Juve right now. I think Juve's just steady. They're not great, and other teams, especially some of the provincial teams, just crack under the pressure of playing Juve. And that's what's happening. And they're old. And look, they're making some moves, but at the same time, Inter has made a series of exceptionally innovative moves, intelligent moves, cost-effective moves. You have Beppe Marotta, who orchestrated the resurrection of Juve. You have Antonio Conte, who managed the resurrection of Juve. And they're all in Milan now. And so there's a brain drain that's taking place, and now you're starting to see kind of, the effects of that.
So Inter is in first place in Serie A. You've got some teams that are kind of hanging around in 3, 4, 5, Lazio, Cagliari, Roma, Atalanta's in 6th. Your Milan side in 11th, in the news today.
Yeah.
There's a certain large Swedish man who could be returning to Milan.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So
it's a reaction.
Look, what I want to know really is, okay, you get Zlatan, and that's great. That one, it shows the affection that Zlatan has for Milan. The fans really loved him, and we're used to, as Milan fans, having someone leave Inter and come to Milan and generally talk about how much better of a life it is. So I'm not terribly shocked by that move.
That was shade.
But I will say that that I'm concerned by this move because it's a panic move. It's a panic move. You have Christoph Piatek, who just needs to get rid of the number 9 jersey. The number 9 jersey at Milan is a curse. It is heavily cursed. Sacrifice chickens. Do whatever you need to do to get the curse lifted. Milan should just retire the number, and just put like Vergonia, put shame on the back of it and hang it from the rafters, because anyone who wears the jersey, that their numbers plummet, they tank. And so I want to know what you're going to do with Christoph Piatek, because he was the big striker that you were supposed to bring in. That's now going to be Zlatan. And are you going to move Piatek? And because of the lack of production this year, what are you going to get out of him? I mean, you're not going to get 40 mil. So you're going to take a loss, which you don't need in financial fair play, because, I mean, you are so buried right now in debt that it's not even funny. So really, what are you going to do? And I don't like that it's a panic move. I don't like the fact that you're going to maybe unseat Piatek. You're going to, at worst, you're going to make him very uncomfortable and take away his confidence. So I don't know, man. I don't think it's a great move. Good for Zlatan for getting another big paycheck in the top club.
Have we heard anything about salary? He was getting $7 million at Galaxy.
I've seen some numbers tossed around that are pretty significant for the short-term contract that it's going to be.
What is it? 18 months?
I want to say it's something.
Year and a half.
Effect.
I mean, that would make sense.
Yeah, you guys have to understand. I'm jet lagged out of my mind right now. So at the moment, it's like 12:30 at night for me.
It's all good.
So I'm still recovering. But I think it's about an 18-month contract, and the numbers were absolutely stupid. So look, good for him. I'm never mad at a player for getting their money.
It's true. We'll see if he helps Milan out of 11th. It was a really good week in Champions League for the Italian clubs. No one lost, I don't think, in Champions League or Europa League. Only one draw, and that was a pretty impressive one from Napoli, who has been through the ringer lately, and I think are still in the ringer because they lost to Bologna yesterday.
Yeah.
What is going to happen with Napoli?
Well,
Are the players gonna pony up the €2.5 million in fines that their owner has levied on them?
No, they're not going to do that. Look, Napoli's on an 8-match domestic losing streak, or winless streak. Excuse me, winless streak. Ancelotti can't continue. I love Carlo, but Carlo functions when there is a solid team around him, a management team like directors, and everyone's on the same page. He had that pretty much everywhere he's gone. Even when he had his stint with Chelsea, there was still an intelligent board around him. This is completely different with De Laurentiis because De Laurentiis is a psychopath, and he talked about selling the club after the players backed out of their forced training regiment deal that they were supposed to do, their holiday training, whatever they were going to do. And now they're talking about doing it again, a training camp. So they're going to do a training camp again, and this time we'll see if there's buy-in. And I think that will be what will remove the fines. If they show up for the training camp, I think the fines will be removed.
So, okay, here's the bigger question, because this leads us to the big topic of the day.
Okay.
The managerial carousel is spinning wildly out of control all over Europe right now.
It is.
And Carlo Ancelotti would seem to be a manager who could hop off of one horse on the carousel and have his pick of other horses to hop onto if he chose to.
Right.
Arsenal.
Yep.
Bayern Munich. He's been there before, but, looks like Barca is going to be okay. That was a huge win for Valverde yesterday over Atleti. Madrid, who knows? There's still plenty of time. But it seems like openings are happening as we speak. Mm-hmm. Does Ancelotti jump for one of the openings that is currently there, or does he wait to see what openings might pop up?
De Laurentiis will not let him leave.
Okay.
De Laurentiis will not allow him to sign. He'll take it to the court, arbitration.
Do you know what kind of contract he's got with Napoli? Is it multiple years, or is this the final year?
I think it's multiple years, if I remember correctly. But I will say that De Laurentiis will not let him leave.
Okay.
I think the only thing that could happen is at the end of the season. I think he could be fired. One, but I don't think Carlo's going to take another job this season. I think Carlo sits and waits and watches what happens with Milan. Pioli was signed to a 2-year deal in totality, but it's a 1-year deal with a 1-year option. Milan is not going to fire Pioli because then, even though Gattuso said, you don't have to pay me, I'm walking away. At the same time, there's too much money tied up. You still had Giampaolo. You're still paying Marco Giampaolo. You're still going to have to pay Pioli if you fire him. And that's too much money to be throwing at a management position when they have a win. They're at least steady. So Pioli has stopped the hemorrhaging. But I don't think he's going to last after the year. I think, if anything, Carlo waits to see what happens with that gig. Arsenal is not a gig I think he wants to take because what's happening right now with Napoli is so taxing. I don't know if he wants to walk into another excessively taxing situation so soon. Go from one to another.
Right.
And which is why I don't think Pochettino's going to take a job right now.
No, I think he's another one who I don't know if Daniel Levy's going to let him take a job right now,
Right.
without somebody paying up a good bit of cash.
Right, and so you have a situation where Carlo's mentally taxed. You can watch him on the sideline. He's one of my favorite coaches. I've watched him for a long time, and that man is burnt out. You can just see it in his eyes. You can see it in his body language. It's something that I've never seen from him until like his later days at Chelsea.
Right.
But it to me is something where I wish he could. I don't know if Carlo's even the answer at Milan. I just think he needs to take a year off and just kind of reassess where he is as a manager. But no, I don't think he jumps to another gig at this point.
Okay.
Arsenal's, to me, is the most exciting job out there.
That's what I wanted to get to was England. John, so you have two different jobs that are open in England right now.
Yes.
You have Arsenal and you have Wolves.
Yeah.
Like opposite ends of the spectrum, but...
Oh, Watford, not Wolves.
Watford, sorry, not Wolves. My bad. Sorry, Wolves fans. But how do you... Well, let's start with Watford, because we did have a question about Watford that I wanted to tie in. Small World Soccer asked, what's the way out of relegation at this point for Watford? Who do you think gets hired as the new manager, and will this one actually last the rest of the season? So fill us in, for people who are not following Watford all that closely. What's the deal, and what can they do right now?
What's the deal with Watford? I feel like Jerry Seinfeld there all of a sudden.
That was me who said I should have been Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, but 85 days, and that was not anticipated. First and foremost, Quique Sanchez Flores leaves. Then you bring in Javi Gracia, and things did not go well. So then you decide, okay, hey, let's bring Quique Sanchez Flores back. And that lasted the sum total of 85 days. The relegation zone was not a place that was escaped under Quique Sanchez Flores. And so right now Watford is in the proverbial world of hurt when it comes to trying to get out of the relegation zone. And here are your strong contenders, according to the Daily Mail, for the vacant position. Chris Hughton, Paul Clement.
That's it?
Those are the strong contenders for the vacant position, according to the Daily Mail. And the players...
Like, this isn't even getting...
No.
I mean, who of the usual suspects are out there right now?
Big Sam.
Big Sam with feels like a Big Sam kind of gig.
It does.
Alan Pardew, is he out there right now?
Yep.
David Moyes has been out there for a while.
Yep.
This feels like a Big Sam kind of job, and you're not even linking Big Sam to this.
No. And
6 points adrift.
Yes. And, I mean, honestly, if you can get a good run of form, I mean, if you look at the table, you're only looking at, 6 or 8 points basically from 5th or 6th all the way down to 16th or 17th?
12 points between 5th and 20th.
Okay, yeah. Then to get out of relegation itself, if you're
6.
So 17th gets you at 6 points. But the largest thing, it's like, Quique Sanchez Flores gets sacked twice. I feel like Billy Martin here with George Steinbrenner. But it's
who wants to take the job at this point?
That's the larger question. I have seen no one who has genuinely stood up and said, hey, I'd like this gig.
So, I mean, you take all of that into account, and you go back to the question from Small World Soccer, what's the way out of relegation at this point? I don't know if there is one.
No.
If you don't have anybody who's clamoring for the job, you've went through one guy twice. I mean, it's a bad situation all the way around. I do think that whoever you turn to at this point, you've got to give them the rest of the season because you're just making it worse if you don't. So you give whoever it is the rest of the season and hope they can find a way. It's not insurmountable. It's not a crazy deficit, but are you going to stick with anybody long enough to actually turn it around?
And that's the thing when you're looking at the panic button. And, heck, just ask Swansea about the panic button when it came to the Bob Bradley situation.
Well, let's talk about how it's becoming a larger issue globally. You had the same thing that just happened with Brescia. Brescia fired Eugenio Carini and replaced him with Fabio Grosso. 3 days later, they fired him and replaced him with Eugenio Carini.
Grosso got a game?
Yeah. Yeah, Grosso got a
One game?
One game. And he
One
was out.
game.
And so...
Okay, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the short-termism of soccer managerial hires. I get that it's turned into that more so than ever, but that's just dysfunctional, and it can't be really all that surprising when you hear Brescia's president speak at all about anything, because he kind of seems like an idiot.
He's an idiot. But
an absolute moron.
But again, you have these managers that say, oh, well, we're going to fire an old manager, bring a new manager in, fire him, and then bring the old manager back.
And not have any patience with him. Apparently,
Exactly.
Houghton and Clement have held talks over the job, but the name that we mentioned a couple of minutes ago, apparently that gentleman has some support inside the dressing room. Big Sam. I mean, you want to talk with any... I mean, Chris Houghton, for me, I sit there and I go, okay, that's going to be like 1-1, 1-0, get a goal, slash the tires, turn the bus sideways.
That's the Big Sam special.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could get the same thing with Chris Houghton. You could get it with Big Sam. But the bottom line is, if Watford wants to get out of the relegation zone, you've got to make up 6 points, and you've still got a hopscotch Everton, who right now is in 17th with 14.
But 6 points isn't crazy.
No.
Like, it doesn't feel like it should be panic time, because 6 points it's doable.
Yeah, that's 2 wins, bottom line. That's...
I mean, it's crowded all the way around. It's going to get hectic, but okay, here is your Mondays with Reddit.
Mondays with Reddit.
When it comes to Watford. Watford's still considering a number of candidates. They spoke to former Athletic Bilbao boss Jose Angel Ziganda today, but he's not under further consideration. They're now relaxed about the time frame after setbacks in the process. So Roger Schmidt and Marcelino have reportedly turned down the job. It's a mess. I mean, you were getting reports earlier that they were expected to appoint their new head coach today. I mean, what in the world? So, okay, Watford, it's not completely disastrous, but they're making it disastrous.
Yes.
Arsenal. Let's get to this one.
Sure.
So, Unai Emery, shown the door. It had gotten to where it was time. I do think it had gotten to that point.
Yeah.
I want to see where he ends up, because this is not a guy who has been a poor manager, but he's got a couple black eyes on his resume now.
Well, he failed up into the PSG job, and then he failed up into the Arsenal job. And I say failed up because given the talent that he was surrounded with at PSG, he should have done infinitely better than the results that were presented. But it was absolutely time, and I'm honestly shocked that Arsenal did something in a reasonable amount of time. I figured that they were going to keep holding on and holding on and holding on. But, you know, you can only you have to at least give the illusion, I guess, that your piggy bank is being operated appropriately. So it's going to be, to me, it's the most interesting job that's going to be coming up in this offseason, because
Do they wait till the offseason?
I think so.
But doesn't
You think they're going to give Freddie Youngberg time to maybe be that guy?
I think
He could be.
He could be the guy. But
He's going to get an extended audition, I think, is the important thing.
Right. They will not fire Freddie. I don't believe that's going to happen unless you have just an absolutely cataclysmic run of results. But I do believe that Arsenal is going to be the job that a lot of people are going to be looking at. You have top flight facilities. You have still extraordinary name recognition. It's a club that will increase your Q rating substantially. So every agent will be eyeing that club and saying, why don't I put forward candidate X, candidate Y, and candidate Z? You're going to hear so many names are going to get attached to this, starting with Pochettino.
I don't think Poach takes it.
I don't think he takes it.
I don't think he's interested. I don't think his name even comes up from his people.
But in the media, they're already dropping it. And the media's already
yeah,
dropping it.
the media
Yeah.
side. Throw that over here off to the side.
But-
The press are pancakes, Nick.
Yeah, the press are pancakes, but we have to
Panqueques.
consider the fact that the panqueques are going to be the ones who are informing a lot of people of the rumor mill, right?
Is
So
it
they-
going to be the press or is it going to be the AFTVs that are informing the rumor mill?
Shade.
Just saying. I mean, that's had an impact. I mean, they were some of the first people that got interviewed about this, and there was a brilliant piece in the New York Times about this that it's a very different world than it used to be in these
Right.
regards with the fan-driven media that has an influence. I mean, I think it's hard to say that they don't.
No, they do have an influence because the fan-driven media has figured out how to reach an audience faster than the corporate side of the business has. So when we're talking about like how Arsenal reaches out, because they have to be guarded about certain things, so they can't be as engaging as maybe they want to be. Even, AS Roma, as awesome and legendary as their social media account is, still have to be guarded with certain things. The fan-driven, Arsenal Fan TV and so forth, they can come out and they can say whatever they want, and people will respond because they're engaging the fan base at their level, which is very attractive. The standard media has not figured this out yet. And even if they had figured it out, I think there's a certain amount of ill repute that comes with some of these more established outlets. Mm-hmm. And so they may be driving this. And it's going to be interesting to see because you're right, it is a new world and how this all shakes out.
So here's the question I have when it comes to Arsenal. So you say they're going to be the most attractive job in the summer.
Yes.
What if it turns into a situation that we've seen so many times in college football, for example? Because I think that's the closest comparison to this. I mean, I don't know if there are people like sitting outside of private airports and like tracking like plane IDs on people flying into Munich or to London to talk to Arsenal. I don't know if they're doing that yet like they do with college football.
Flightaware.com, by the way, everybody. Flightaware.com.
See, there you
Yeah.
go. Nick's one of these people.
Done there.
So we've seen it happen, though, where you have a team say, you know what, we're done. We're going to make this move. We're going to do it. We're going to get out in front of things. And then Barcelona falls apart and Valverde's fired. Mm-hmm. And then Zidane says, I'm over this crap, and he walks. And then you still have Bayern Munich out there.
Well, here's the thing about Bayern Munich. Lewandowski's been doing amazing things.
It's absurd what he is doing.
Okay. He finished 8th in the Ballon d'Or. 8th.
Messi should have won it, though.
Yes.
Well, no, I'm not saying anything else. I'm just saying that Lewandowski was ranked the 8th in the Ballon d'Or. That shows how little respect Bundesliga is getting. You could say it's Bayern Munich, and that's fantastic, but it shows how little respect the Bundesliga is getting on a global level. You could talk about this romantic vision of what was, but I'm telling you, it seems to me that there just does not seem to be the level of respect from Bundesliga. So I'm not going to say that Bayern Munich is...
I could see Pochettino going to Bayern.
No, I don't think so.
I could.
My gut is telling me that's not there.
I could.
My gut's telling me it's not there.
I think
But-
there's roadblocks in some other spots where you might think he would end up. A lot of people threw it out there about Barcelona.
No.
It's like, no, it's not happening because
thought
of the
he would go
Espanyol
home.
team.
Yeah.
No, he's not going to go manage in Argentina.
No, but I
No.
would say...
Pochettino, I mean, this is a Champions League finalist manager. Like, Bayern
agreed.
would be a good spot for him. I mean, the question is, and Poch has got an interesting CV too, because what trophies does he have?
But if you're looking at Barcelona, immediately the shiny object is Messi. You get to manage possibly like on your Mount Rushmore of greatest players ever. He's there.
He's still doing it too.
And he's
Did you
still
see
doing
that
it.
goal against Atleti?
Yeah, but at the same time, if let's say you're there for 3 or 4 years, how much Messi are you getting? When does this guy decide he's going to hang it up? And at that point, how much of a rebuild do you want to be a part of? Because that man is a walking neutron bomb, and the minute he's gone, you have I'm sorry, it's a wreckage of a team without Messi.
So you're saying it's a black hole once Messi goes?
Yeah, the minute he is gone, that team is going to. Everyone's going to be asking what the hell happened to Barcelona. I don't think it's that great of a job once Messi, because you have to start factoring in the clock on Messi.
I think it's still enough for one more big hire, though, as a manager. I think you can get a couple of years.
Okay.
I think you can win a Champions League in the next couple of years with Messi if you want to take it.
No, I don't think so.
I think you're in the running for it.
I think they're a semifinalist at very best in the Champions League, and
There's a crapshoot, though.
Okay, fair.
There's not many teams like that I think for the next 2 years, but after that, I don't think there is.
For the next 2 years, if you look at teams that are stronger teams than what Barcelona has currently, you have to factor Messi in, because I'm not going to deal with a world of hypotheticals where we pretend that Messi's not involved.
Right.
So, but if you look at what Liverpool's doing right now, if you even look at what Man City's doing right now, there are more complete teams that can game plan around Messi to at least reduce the risk of walking out of there.
Agree.
With
Totally.
loss. And Barcelona's defense is such horrid crap that you can only paste over this for so long before the faults become very problematic.
So you think, if you're ranking the three that we've talked about so far,
Okay.
Arsenal, Barca, Bayern in terms of attractiveness of the job?
I would say if you are looking for a competitive opportunity, I would go Arsenal, Bayern, and Barca, just because I don't know. And here's why: because I have to do a certain level of risk assessment looking at these clubs, and judging by how quickly, by the standard of the club, Arsenal got rid of Unai Emery. I will say that, to me, it's a club that obviously has a competitive interest, which is something that I did not think they had before.
Totally agree.
And they have the money to invest should they wish to do so.
Right.
They're going to be cash flow positive.
Yeah.
When I look at Barcelona, I'm going to have to compete with Real Madrid, who's going to reload and reload and reload. And that's going to be my judgment level. I'm going to have to constantly be compared to those guys. And when Messi leaves, is it a year? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? I don't know. I would like to assume he's going to stay for 3 years. He very well could.
3 is possible. I think 2 is a safe bet.
Yeah. So, but I have to do a risk assessment, and I have to say, okay, how am I going to walk away from this with my dignity intact? And I would have to say Bayern is an opportunity where I know it's going to be a short job, but at the same time, I'm going to be very competitive in the Champions League. I'm going to be very competitive domestically. I will be financially back to the gills. I'm going to take the Bayern gig, and I'm going to wait out what happens with Barcelona, because whoever gets the Barcelona gig next, you may get one big hire, and he may only be there for 2 years. But when Messi leaves, that person will be gone because the results will be so horrific. I want to be the guy who follows that guy.
You want to be the guy who replaces the legend.
That's right. The guy who comes in afterwards to help,
Okay.
All right, so Arsenal, Josh Kroenke said, with Freddie Ljungberg, he said that he has Arsenal's DNA in him.
He does.
What is Arsenal's DNA right now?
It's what Arsene Wenger did for a number of years. That's their philosophy. We talked about it on SDH this morning, where clubs have to have their philosophy that's separate from the manager. Barca has had that. Now, they've drifted from it at times, and they've come back to it. But Arsenal's DNA, I don't think they've lost it yet. Manchester United completely lost the DNA.
Right.
The DNA has been gone because it's been tampered with so many times. That's another job that could come open. We'll see. But Arsenal, I think, still has that DNA of playing classy, passing, technique is valued. I think they want to play. They want to entertain. They want to score goals. I think that's where their philosophy is. I don't think it's tied to, a certain formation. I don't think it's tied to like a certain country. I mean, Wenger was very good at bringing in French players, obviously. I don't think it's tied to that. I think it's tied about they want to entertain. They don't want to be defensive. They don't want to be negative. They want to be a positive team and entertain.
I didn't see that this past weekend, though, against Norwich.
It's one game. Like, come on. He got the job, 72 hours before, if that?
I also didn't see it toward the end of the Emery administration.
Emery has started to lose it, but you don't lose it that fast. Just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean that it's gone. That's the whole point. You needed to make this move to make sure you don't lose it. Now,
I agree that the move had to be
now
made.
can Freddie Youngberg bring that back? That remains to be seen. If he doesn't, that's the type of hire that you're looking at. And Pochettino would fit that, but he's not going to take the job. You'd have to be looking for somebody like that. And I really do kind of wonder about a certain Argentine manager who will be in demand this summer. Would that be a spot that Marcelo Gallardo might end up?
Theoretically, yes.
I think it's probably a little too big for him, or it feels that way, even though I don't think it should.
I think the price tag's right.
Yeah, I think the perception is he's not ready for that gig. I think he's ready for that gig, and I think that's a better gig than going to Barcelona.
Yeah, by sure.
Because, like you mentioned, all the pressure, all the differences. I think if Gallardo went to Arsenal and had money to spend, and the expectations are right now move up 4 spots, get back to that 4 spot.
I'm going to plant a pretty big flag here. Whoever gets him is going to get the next Carlo Ancelotti. I'll say that. I think that Gallardo is somebody who, with his flexibility, with his, he is somebody who looks at a problem and says, how do I solve it? Not how do I solve this my way, but how do I solve this problem generally? I think that you can get him now and let him build a team for you and manage your superstars that you have. There's not a situation you're going to be able to throw him in that I think is too big. I mean, you're talking about Copa Libertadores versus Boca in Buenos Aires. Talk to me about what's bigger than that from a citywide perspective where the entire city's caving in on you. I don't think there's anything that's beyond this man if you just give him the shot. As much as we talk about Pochettino, I think Erik ten Hag of Ajax is going to be the guy who will be the most in demand. Right away, even as January, I think people will be beating down the door of Ajax trying to figure out how they can get in touch with this guy and start conversations. And if Barcelona's intelligent, he will be number 1, 2, and 3 on that list because he can come in, get that youth program restarted, and start building that Dutch philosophy that helped make them the one of the greatest teams in the history of the game. So we could talk about Pochettino all day. I think if you're Barcelona, you're looking at Erik ten Hag and no one else. If you're Arsenal, you need to be calling Gallardo. You need to be calling him right now and say, yeah, I know you probably want to stay at River through 2020, but let's talk about what your future in Europe can be. And
I really like that idea. More and more I think about it, I really like Gallardo to Arsenal.
Yeah. I think it would make a lot of sense. You're not going to play horrific, ugly ball.
He would have been an Arsenal kind of player, too.
I think so.
He could have played in the Arsene Wenger Arsenal teams. He was that kind of player. I think he gets what it means to be part of that club.
But he also understands, because of how River's set up, that fan perception is very important. That he understands that this is the way that we play. And even though he's as flexible as can be, there still needs to be an element of beauty to the game, or else I'm going to hear it. And I think that's something that could fit really well with Arsenal, however you want to shake it out. But I think that he would be a great fit for them.
So Bartimus Prime has come in with a question. Since we're talking England, which top, in quotation marks, Premier League team needs to make the most / biggest transfers this winter?
I mean, So right now, let's define top a little bit. See, Liverpool's 8 points clear at the top of the table. Leicester City's second, 8 points back. Manchester City, 11 points back on 29. Chelsea in fourth on 26. So that's your Champions League spots. That's your money spots. Tottenham, 6 points back, tied with Wolves on 20. Then it's Sheffield United and Arsenal. Then it's Manchester United, Burnley, Crystal Palace on 18. That's your top 11. So Liverpool, I don't think they need to go in and get anything. I think they're in a good spot. I think you're talking about right now the favorite to win the league and the favorite to win the Champions League.
Right.
Leicester, what do they have to work with? And where do they feel like they need to strengthen to maintain where they are? Now, the thing that they do have going for them is they are not going to be distracted by European football right now. That helps you because everybody around you is. So how much do you need to bolster that team, or are you starting to think, and this is where I would be if I was Leicester, are you starting to think about next year's European campaign?
Yeah.
And are you looking to get some young players that you can bring through and get some time here in the second half, but can potentially lift you next year in a European campaign? That's going to be key.
I wonder if there's an MLS club with a young player who has a lot of potential who could play in England, who could be available in January. It'd be interesting to see how that works out, huh?
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of budget Leicester's talking about on transfers. They're the unknown a little bit right here because they just haven't been here very often. Manchester City's got to make some decisions. I mean, we know the injuries they've had defensively. Now it's the league is not done. You can't say that it's done 14 games in, but it's not likely at this point. So Manchester City, we talked about it before the season, the Champions League was that huge, big, shiny object for them. I think it's even more shiny now.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And whatever it's going to take to get through that. So you're not thinking as much from a City standpoint of, okay, I need depth, I need a bunch of pieces, I need to be able to rotate. It's who can make my starting 11 better right now. And it's probably a center back.
Yep.
I don't know their injury situation off the top of my head. I know they've been expecting to get some guys back, but I think it's a top center back, and they need to go Champions League or bust. Chelsea is...
They can't do anything.
They can't do anything. That's the thing. People are going to be coming in for some players, you would think, and I don't think they can really afford to sell anybody either.
No.
So Chelsea kind of is what it is. If you're Tottenham with Jose Mourinho now...
Oh, he'll want,
What do you do if you're Tottenham and you're talking about going into the market? Because you're 6 points out of Europe. Like, that's doable.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with a Chelsea team that is young, not necessarily all that deep. They can be overtaken. So what does Jose do for Spurs in January to lift them into the top four?
I think if you're Spurs right now, and you're Jose Mourinho, you have to immediately go ahead. Mr. Levy. Mr. Levy, if I could. I'm going to need a pretty
little help.
Massive transfer kitty, even in January, because there will be a lot of holes on this team come summer, and you're going to have to start plugging them now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, where do you even want to begin with this? I mean, midfield, great. Defense, yeah.
Defense especially, because you're going to lose guys.
So I think that if you're in the January window, you're going to have to find some diamonds in the rough, but I think Spurs are going to be the ones who have to make the most of this window. They're going to have to do some serious investment along that back line, a couple guys in the midfield. Don't be shocked if Spurs are the most active team by far in Europe come January.
I think they should be. We'll see if they are. I'm not expecting Wolves or Sheffield United to be like big spenders here. They're going to be looking just to upgrade. Arsenal and Manchester United are interesting where they're sitting because they're not completely out of the realm of possibility of getting into European spots. They're both big clubs. They both have money. Arsenal is not going to have a manager that they know they can count on past the summer. And honestly, I think Manchester United's in that same situation.
Yep.
How much are you going to spend? I mean, if you're Manchester United, you need a couple veterans to plug into that team around all the young talent that you brought in. I think they finally got a window kind of right in the summer where they brought in a bunch of young talent. There's just nothing anchoring it.
Right.
The little kid on one of the outlets that I know we've retweeted it.
That was tremendous.
That kid nailed it. That kid needs.
Right.
That kid can come on this show anytime.
Yes,
because he gets it. Like, they need to spend. They need to go get a couple vets, even one like figurehead. They need. If you go back in Manchester United history, when they went and they got Roy Keane, when they went and they got Eric Cantona, they need that kind of guy to rally around. They just don't have anybody. When you see these moments in games right now where you've got these young guys who are playing hard and working hard and playing well, they're young, they're making mistakes. You don't have that leader.
No.
And that's what's killing them right now. If you can find that in January, I think you go do it. I don't think you blow up what you have because you might actually be headed somewhat in the right direction. Arsenal, I just don't know if you can really truly judge what they need to do at the moment. I just don't know if you can make those decisions without knowing what the long-term plan is at manager. Now, I think you know kind of how you want to play, and you can go get guys that fit how you want to play, but you can't get super specific. Like, you can't say, well, I need this number 6 right now to slot into this team because you don't know if that's going to work.
Right. And I think that's 100% correct. I still just think it's Spurs or bust for me on this transfer window. I think Man City's going to be out there, but I just don't know if Man City's going to necessarily find the kind of talent they need at the back to help them. And whoever Man City
it's
goes,
like, Emerick Laporte, can you please get healthy quicker?
Right. Yeah. And you will have competition for backline help.
Hey, here's one. If you're Manchester City and you know that there's a couple center backs who have been pretty good for Tottenham.
Yep.
And they're out of contract in the summer.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're not coming back.
Nope.
How much is it going to take to get Vertonghen or Alderweireld over to Manchester for the rest of the season?
I start off at $5 million each.
Oh, I'd start cheap, yeah.
Yeah, $5 million each. Give them $5 million each because it's more than what you're going to get in the offseason.
Yeah. You want something or you want nothing?
Because I think that's kind of where City is. Like, they need something like that right now to try to win Champions League. It's not about 30 games for them now. I think, honestly, if you're Manchester City, if you're Pep Guardiola, you're thinking about what are you going to have next year? You're going to have a round of 16?
Yep.
You're going to have quarters. You're going to have semis. You're going to have a final. 7 games. That's what you're thinking about. Who can help me win 7 games?
Will Jose allow that? That's going to be the question.
Again, the idea is there. Can you actually pull it off? That's going to be the question. But that's the kind of signing I think you need if you're City.
And where we have traditionally said, and I know, John, England is your world. I'm not
part
trying
of my
to,
bailiwick. Yes.
I'm not trying to jump in your
No.
in
Don't
your
jump
stuff
into
here.
my bailiwick,
Not
sir.
jumping in, but I don't think Jose Mourinho takes this job unless he had guarantees that he was going to get a substantial investment.
Totally agree.
So,
Do you know that Ed Woodward actually spoke the other day?
was it regarding a bank account or financial numbers? Or?
Actually, yeah.
Wow, that's so shocking to me. My
He
goodness.
spoke after the Aston Villa draw, and he was asked about all the contracts given to players rather than attempting to upgrade. So you signed Jones, Pereira, Mata, Martial, Young. They were extended. You signed Shaw and Rojo to new contracts last fall. Extensions to De Gea, Rashford, and McTominay and Lindelof. So here's his quote. He said, here's his answer to all this. It's hard enough to get 3 players done in a transfer window. To get 6 or 7 done is extremely difficult if you are getting proper talent. If you choose to churn every player because they're not good enough and you're not extending contracts, you're putting yourself at risk of execution. Sometimes you have to take a broader view. It's a multi-year squad evolution analysis.
What's completely wrong about that?
Everything.
Why?
I'm going to say that, one, he's talking about the number of transfer moves that he was so difficult.
Oh, that part was stupid.
Yeah.
That was dumb.
Yeah.
I get that you have to have a larger view.
That's where I'm at. Is
Yeah.
I get what he's trying to use to
Right.
justify it. I think there's some moves there that no, you didn't need to keep guys. You needed to move on. You'd seen enough.
Yeah. To me, Woodward is... I think Woodward's trying to get stuff out there to try to change the message on him.
Yes,
And,
I agree.
And I think that's why the message is wrong. He's tossing out corporate terms like we have to take a step back and look at a larger view of the.
It sounds it's a very corporatized soundbite.
It is. Instead of saying, guys, here are specific things that we're doing, and here's why. Here's why we executed this particular plan. The fans, especially in Manchester, are not stupid. Give them the X's and O's. Here's why we did this.
We kept this guy because we didn't feel like we could upgrade from them in this window.
Right.
If that's the case, tell me that.
Tell me that.
Because there's some that I do not understand why they kept some of the guys, because I would have felt like they could have upgraded.
Right. And you see a lot of teams out there that are making moves, subtle moves, and upgrading, or even if it's just preparation for the future. I used the Delic move to Juve as a prime example. Delic has had some horrendous moments for Juve, but it's quite clear to see that the kid has what it takes to get it done. I mean, and I know there are people out there rolling their eyes like to the point where their heads are snapping back as I say that, but if you have not watched him in some of these Juve games, it's been abysmal.
Yeah, he's had some moments.
Yeah, but you can sit there and say, okay, Chiellini's not getting any younger. We don't even know if he's going to be able to come back at all. So we need to have somebody in place, and we're building. Okay, great. Excellent. You have a plan. You have a vision. Now we understand. Woodward is not providing the fans with any sort of X's and O's. He's just giving them corporate speak.
I think the big picture that he talked about is correct. I do think the second half of what he said, like, there's a lot of truth in that. I don't know how much it applied to the decisions that Manchester United specifically made, or if they were correctly made. And that's the issue. And that's something when you're building a team, you do have to think multiple years. You can't just, it's something that comes up every time when it's, let's fire the coach. Well, can you upgrade?
Right.
Can you go get a better coach? If you can't, don't fire the coach. Same with a player. Yes, there you go. if you don't have a better option at right wing, you don't get rid of your right winger.
Correct.
You either wait on your young talent to come through and displace them, or you go get somebody that you've identified. You don't just rashly make moves. I think that part is correct. And I do think that they finally had a window that has some value to it. I think they got young. They got some talent. You've got a guy in Harry Maguire that you can build around for a while. Daniel James feels like a legit talent.
Scott McTominay, if given time.
McTominay's been there for a minute, but bringing him back makes sense. Like, you've got guys. Rashford, I think, is one you absolutely build around. Rashford, for some reason, everybody – is he the Jossie Zardes of the Premier League?
I think so.
It's really unfair. But you've got some of that, but you don't have a spine, and that's what that team needs. And you need a veteran spine. So now you have to go do that, and you really need to do it this winter. But we know in Europe the winter window is not the best window to do those things.
You know what I think Ed Woodward needs to say? I think he needs to come out and say, guys,
I'm going to go manage the dollars and cents and leave the football to somebody else.
Well, to save his own hide, I think he throws Jose under the bus. I think, which is
everybody would enjoy that.
Yeah, I would say, guys, we had a manager in here before who demanded we make certain signings. And based upon the way that we negotiated our contract with him, he was given leeway to pick names. We picked the names, and on retrospect, it was poor business on our end to do so. We apologize for that, and going forward, we'll make sounder decisions, which I think we have shown you. We're willing to bring in a certain level of youth, and we're going to rebuild this thing the right way.
Ed Woodward, send a direct message at Nick Alifi and pay the man for that soundbite.
There you go.
Because that's how you get out of all this.
That's it.
Blame it on Mourinho.
Blame it on Mourinho.
Always. Yes. Always the right strategy.
Pass the buck. Because what's Jose going to say? Yes,
well, he might say a bunch of stuff, but then that's always good.
He'll hold up three fingers.
Three Premier League.
That's always good. Let him yell. Let him run his mouth. That's all good.
But just blame it on him and say, look, he made certain demands. We gave them to him. We'll never be in that position again. We apologize for the inconvenience, Manchester United fans.
I'm good with this. I like that strategy.
Yeah,
that's a plan.
That's what I'm saying.
All right.
Are we bothered by the Ballon d'Or, according to Nathan Pugh's question?
Bothered by
who won?
No. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, Lionel Messi is the best player in the world.
Yes.
And he probably will be until he retires. It's a fact.
Yeah.
If you're doing an award like this, do you want to give the same person the award every year? No, you don't. That's why you have Nick's favorite award winner.
My favorite award winner?
From Real Madrid and Croatia.
Guys, I'd moved beyond this. Why are we still...
What about on the women's side?
I don't think she should have won, but I didn't think she should have won Golden Ball for the World Cup either. No. I think that Megan Rapinoe had an outstanding World Cup, but it was the semifinal that she didn't play due to injury, right?
Yes.
I just that is big. Her at the club level, and look, on the women's side, they're not looking much at the club level. Now, they did last year because of Ada Hegerberg, but This time, you're not. It's a World Cup year for the women. You're basing it after the World Cup because Rapinoe at Reign FC didn't really provide much of anything.
Lucy Bronze 2, Alex Morgan 3.
I think Morgan was more deserving than Rapinoe for the overall body of work, but neither one should have been the U.S. representative. It should have been Julie Ertz, or it should have been Rose Lavelle.
Yes.
Lucy Bronze absolutely should have been in the top 3, but Sam Kerr should have won. Sam Kerr had an unbelievable year for the Chicago Red Stars, got them to a league final.
Did what she did on the world stage, too, yeah.
And she carried Australia.
Yeah.
So Sam Kerr, for me, should have won that. But Australia didn't have a great World Cup. That's why she doesn't win it. It's a World Cup year. That's what happens with the Ballon d'Or. But on the men's side, one thing that did come out of it, Virgil van Dijk. And this is another Mondays with Reddit.
Mondays with Reddit.
So he is the first Dutch player in the top 3 of the Ballon d'Or since who finished second in 1993?
Van Basten?
FDB.
Neither one are correct.
Oh, I was hoping for some circular.
Nope. First Dutch player in the top 3 of the Ballon d'Or since this person finished second in 1993.
Robin only looks like he's 55.
Mm-hmm. Dennis Bergkamp.
Oh, the recipient of the FDB.
Mm-hmm.
Laser-guided strike from the back line.
Mm-hmm. Dennis Bergkamp, 1993. So Van Dijk gets in there. What was the rest? What was the top 3? Do we know the order on the Ballon d'Or this time around?
Hang on.
I really did not get that excited about it. I saw a lot of people going nuts about this all day long. I was kind of like,
Messi
Salah
won
was
his 6th.
5th, right? Mo Salah was 5th.
I don't know the order at all.
Efforting.
All right, we'll see how fast John can go. We know Lewandowski was 8th.
I think it was Van Dijk and
Well,
Cristiano Ronaldo were 2, 3.
Okay. The thing about Lewandowski, and this is kind of absurd, the number. So in the last 12 months, November of 2018 through November of 2019, 62 goals.
Yeah.
62
Right.
goals.
Okay, here's your top 10.
He's a machine.
He's got 27. He had 27 in 20 going into the weekend.
He is a monster. And this shows the disrespect of the Bundesliga. Don't talk to me about how high up the Bundesliga is in your pantheon of
we have lost all of our German listeners
the
thanks to
football
Nick.
Food chain.
Look, I think it should be ranked higher. If the
we got him back.
Who have not walked away, I'm saying that I think the Bundesliga should be higher. So it's an exceptional league with tremendous quality. From a global media perspective, though, it gets zero respect. And this shows it. How can you have someone like Lewandowski who's performing at this level and you rank him 8th?
Here's your top
Stop
10.
with that,
Here's your 10. Here's your 10 in order.
Okay.
Number 10, Riyad Mahrez. Number 9, Bernardo Silva. Number 8, Lewandowski. Number 7, Alisson Becker. Number 6, Mbappe. Salah was 5. Mane was 4. Cristiano Ronaldo 3. Van Dijk 2. Messi 1.
Nathan is a Liverpool man.
Yeah.
So I am sure he was caping for his center back who had an incredible year. And if he had won it, I wouldn't have had a problem.
I wouldn't have been angry. No.
But it's so hard when Messi is just Messi.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when he wins it, it's hard to take issue with it.
No, look, you understand. It's greatness, and you're watching something exceptional. I have more, and this is where I'm going to get killed. I think, if anything, you swap Lewandowski and Mbappe. What has Mbappe done at PSG?
In a league where PSG is expected to boat race everybody?
Yeah, you are expected.
He's still living off of 18.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You have a player who's living off of his legacy, and he's in a league that is extraordinarily easy. And I mean, let's go ahead. Look at Champions League. What has he done? What has PSG done in Champions League? How has he lifted that team? And then show me some totals. You know, at least Bayern. You know, at least Bayern and Borussia Dortmund. They're competitive, right? They're competitive teams. They're out there. They are doing things. They have competition. You know, at least in the top 3 or 4 spots in that league. PSG has no one. They take a game off and they lose. That's it. Outside of that, don't come to me with this mess that Mbappe has to show me something outside of what he was able to do in the World Cup.
I agree.
I need more. I need a game-changing performance from him in Champions League to get them to the semifinals or to the final. Show me that, and I'll say that his ranking was justified. And that's my irrational.
No, I don't think there's an
Ballon d'Or.
I don't think that's
irrationality to
irrational.
it. No,
I'm good with that.
No, I'm completely and totally fine with flipping Lewandowski and Mbappe.
So we're getting into silly season, and Mondays with Reddit has another link.
With Reddit.
There's two parts to this, two questions I have coming out of this. So the Brazilian player Everton, who was part of the Copa America squad, it looks like it's time for him to make his move to Europe. His entourage will arrive in Europe on Friday. First destination will be in London. They're going to talk to West Ham. But Everton to Everton?
Yes.
Doesn't it have to happen?
Yes.
I think it does.
So
Yeah.
th-
40
so th-
million euro
so
is
then
the
who's
price
Johnny
tag.
Drama in all of this?
Wow.
And when's Everton going to fire their manager?
Oh, soon. Soon. I mean, you look at the list of, let's see, West Ham with Pellegrini, Everton with Silva. I would have thought after this past weekend.
I jinxed Everton. I apologize to all the Evertonians. I expected Everton to be a surprise team this year, and they've got the talent where they should have been.
Yeah.
But,
No, I mean, right now you're looking at Hassan Hudl at Southampton. You're looking at Silva at Everton.
Everton shouldn't be in this conversation.
No, they shouldn't.
That's the problem.
No, they should not.
So does Everton save Everton?
No.
No.
40 million
if Everton
euro.
is smart, he does not go to his namesake.
Okay, so here's my other question, and this is where Nick comes back into play. So the three teams that have been mentioned that Everton's entourage will be meeting with, Everton, West Ham, and Milan. Is that the level that Milan is at now when it comes to transfers? You're lumped in with mid to lower table Premier League teams.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No hesitation.
That's your market?
No, there's no hesitation anymore.
Okay, I know.
No. And the reason being is that, again, the agents are not stupid. They know that Milan's ability to get into Europe, even if they get top four, unless some miracle happens, they get top four, UEFA is still not going to let them into Champions League because their books are not remotely balanced. There's nothing in their books that suggests that they are going to be, from a financial standpoint, compliant to get into Europe. So why would I send a top-level player there? You're not going to see Europe for 2 years minimum. So, no, you don't need to go there. So instead what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to direct some younger players who have
Take some
promise,
chances.
Take some chances, and who typically looks for younger players and takes a lot of chances? Lower-end Premier League clubs. And so welcome to the party, pal.
That's where
Unless,
Milan
of course,
is now.
you're Steve Bruce
Hey,
and Mike Ashley.
Yeah, but this is a situation that Milan put themselves in. You know, they gambled. They gambled with an investment from a guy who was playing with monopoly money. They put in almost 250 million euro in transfers and got absolutely nothing out of it. So, hey, you eat those crackers in bed, homeboy, you're going to be rolling around on some crumbs, and it's crumb time. I don't know what to tell you. At some point you got to change everything out.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare.
Call the maids and make sure that they know where the
You don't
backup
have the money to
bedspread
call
is.
you don't have the money to call the maids. You have to take those sheets off yourself and
Oh.
clean those things out. I mean, you have to. It is time to clean house. I love Maldini. Maldini is a hero of mine.
Sensing the conjunction in your next sentence.
But
Thank
he
you.
does not need to be a part of this leadership team. It's just not. It's not there. There's no management. There's no philosophy. There's no seemingly any sort of plan in place. So no. Milan is right there with the Newcastles and the Crystal Palaces of the world right now.
Okay, so we will end Mondays with Reddit with this.
Mondays with Reddit.
L'Equipe, who organizes the Ballon d'Or, and they give out a bunch of awards at this time. They awarded their Fan of the Year for 2019 to a Newcastle fan who traveled across England to the house of his Everton-supporting friend just to laugh at him after Everton lost 3-2. And there is video of this.
Oh, that's great.
110 miles to drive across. He walks up to the door, and just laughs at the guy and then gets back in his car.
Just got back in the car and left.
Oh, that's
It's what it looks like. There's a little bit of conversation. There's probably some smack talk. It's incredible. So L'Équipe has redeemed themselves. That's why this whole award ceremony is worth it, because you get that.
That is
I
majestic.
did not know about this.
Oh, that is magisterial. I salute that gentleman and his pettiness.
That's petty.
I wish that
Strength
I had.
and fandom.
If I had any sort of prize or a trophy, I would send that to him for Player Hater of the Year.
The L'Équipe took care of him. I mean, it was less than a minute of conversation.
Well, it is, and it is the player. He gets the Silky Johnson Player Hater of the Year award. You know, it's right there with Dave Chappelle was talking about going home and putting water in Buck Nasty's mama's dish. It is right there with that. It is right there. Hey. That's investment in pettiness, and I'm here for it.
Okay, wait a minute.
Okay.
No, I got another Mondays with Reddit.
Mondays with Reddit.
Wow. AS in Spain is reporting Gabigol, is getting a lot of attention after his Flamengo outburst to win the Copa Libertadores. Maybe he'll go back and make it this time in Europe. Flamengo lining up a replacement.
Oh.
Diego Costa.
No.
The look on Nick's face.
No.
Diego Costa to Flamengo.
No.
Wow.
No? Why?
No. Because, okay, first of all, I have to go back to when he tried coattail riding Spain, when he could have gone and
three
played.
matches before he gets an unnecessary
He would be the
red
ultimate
card.
heel in the Brazilian Serie A.
That'd be
Right.
great to watch.
You had a shot to go and play for wearing the yellow shirt. You had a chance to wear that legendary shirt, and instead you went to go coattail on Spain and get what out of it exactly? No. No. Tell Costa to go to La Liga B or whatever next tier down he wants to go to. He doesn't deserve to go back to Brazil. He should be persona non grata. They should have.
I don't think Flamengo cares.
I don't care what Flamengo wants.
They're the ones who's going to sign him.
I don't even care.
They're
They
talking
need-
like 25 or 30 million euro.
when he's on the plane coming in. This needs to be the thing.
Yeah. You got to turn the plane around. Just turn the plane around.
You're denied landing privileges, sir.
The Brazilian military has denied landing.
Well, sir, we are low on fuel. Where can we go?
We don't care where you go. You just have to turn around.
You can't stay here.
Take it to Argentina
cannot
or
land.
Uruguay or wherever else, but you're not landing here. Thank you.
Static. That's
How
it.
amazing would that be if he plays in Brazil?
Oh my!
I hope they boo him out of the building.
That's why I want it
Every
to happen,
chance.
because I want to
Boo him
see
out.
this.
Could you imagine De Rossi going up against Costa?
Boca's still got to get
De
into the
Rossi,
Libertadores.
De Rossi, Boumaye.
Oh, wow.
Boumaye.
The two of them going at each
I
other.
don't-
Well, no,
I
that's
don't even-
I don't even care about Libertadores. I'm talking about Flamengo, like going and playing your random team in Brazil, not the big teams, like random
because
team.
it would be against a team in the bottom of the table where Diego Costa would have a nutty of biblical proportions.
No, he doesn't even have to. Like, he walks in the door and people go nuts. That's the thing. I mean, you saw Gabigol score over the weekend, and he goes and does his flex thing in front of the stands. They're throwing seats.
Yes.
Like, they're breaking
they're not just
chairs
throwing-
and throwing them at
Yes,
him.
they're not just throwing beer; they're throwing seats.
That happens when Costa walks into the stadium. He doesn't even have to do anything.
We will have another Vespa throwing. Is
Yes.
what's going to happen.
They will throw Vespas.
We will have a 1974
They'll throw
Vespa.
Teslas.
Yeah, that whole Tesla gets launched from that upper deck.
Flamingo, make this happen. I need to see this.
Oh, that'd be great.
I mean, no.
Yes, make it happen.
He had
All the more
he
reason
had
to
his
get
shot.
Fanatis if you
don't
don't have
get
it.
to go
They don't
home.
have Brazil, unfortunately.
If you slaughter, like, I went to high school in Paulding County, and I have taken every opportunity to slander that place. I can never move back to Paulding County. As long as I
gonna
live, I
happen.
can never
Cops
move back.
stop you at the border.
It's going to happen.
They will stop me, and the Paulding County Sheriff will say, "Mr. Leafy, you need to
Mr.
turn
Leafy,
around."
it looks like you're going kind of a little fast through this
Son.
here county. I was going 37 and a 35. Excuse me, sir. Are you supposed to talk back to me in that
Exactly.
kind of a fashion?
So step out of the car.
Step out of the
please.
car, please, Mr. Leafy.
Yes, and it's going to be somebody I went to high school with. I guarantee you.
Oh.
But I don't. I
You
will
didn't
never
give me
go
the answers
back.
on that algebra test back when we were sophomores, sir. So I'm just going to have to take umbrage with you now.
If I didn't give him answers on an algebra test, he should be thanking me because he would not have passed. But I'm just saying, no, absolutely not. Do not go back to Brazil. If you go back to Brazil, Costa, you're a bum.
Be the heel.
Bum.
Do it. Do
Capital
it.
B bum.
All right. One more because Mondays with Reddit is
Mondays
on fire
with
today.
Reddit.
So everybody's favorite expert on the quality of players, Richard Keys.
And officials.
Yes, he is chimed in with. Ooh, it opens up a question that I wanted to get into.
Okay.
So he was talking about his time when Brendan Rodgers was at BN Sports after losing his job at Liverpool. And Keith said, he was with us here at BN Sports after losing his job at Liverpool. I won't go into detail, but during the journey back to his hotel, he left me with absolutely no doubt that Arsenal was the job he coveted.
Mm-hmm.
Does Brendan Rodgers step out of one car
While
and
it's moving?
jump into the other one?
That would be right up his alley.
He would be a moron to do that right
No
now,
doubt.
I think.
I don't think he will.
Richard Keys disagrees.
I'm glad he does, but
There's a reason Richard Keys is now living in Doha.
Well, there might be a
I
few
don't-
reasons.
I don't take the advice of chuckleheads. Number one, and number two.
Is that a new T-shirt handle?
That's another.
Don't take the advice of Chucklehead.
Don't take the advice of chuckleheads.
That might be a
Now
good one.
on Teespring at the SDA.
Yes. give me a couple hours.
That's right. Yeah, he's a pancake, and I'm not taking anything from
He
that.
is a
I think
pancake.
he's got something
Pancakecito.
special at
Agreed.
Leicester City. He's obviously going to be. They're going to build a statue to the man outside of the place.
They should. I mean, why would you leave?
You shouldn't. You shouldn't. Because you have an opportunity. You're not Claudio Ranieri. I get it. But you have an opportunity to have the second statue built outside of that joint. And you could be the person who turns Leicester City into look, everyone who's a Chelsea fan, at one point, your club was the bum team. At one point,
Yes.
before Roman came in, your club was a bum team. And somebody came in and invested and turned you into Chelsea.
I mean,
You can be Leicester City.
think about
Yeah.
the ticket that Brendan Rodgers can write if he and Top get on the same page and bring in players and create the second run of Leicester to the top of the table.
Well, the first
It'd be
run was a
amazing.
year. Like, that's the thing, is like it's not like it's a second run. Like, a run would be more than 2 years, and he would have every opportunity to do that right now, because where does he have a better chance to succeed today?
Exactly.
Nowhere else.
Nowhere. He's got the team that outside of Liverpool and Manchester City
Yeah.
is as good as anybody else.
And,
Yeah.
and I mean, look at the table. And for everyone out there who's snapping necks right now, going, "Oh my God, what is?" Okay, look at the table. Mm-hmm. The graphic does not lie. Where's Man City? 3rd. Where's Chelsea? 4th. Arsenal 8th.
Who's two?
Man United. Oh yeah. Who's 2? Who's 2? Who? Leicester City, sir.
Strange.
Wild how that works.
Crazy.
Why? Why would you leave that gig? So I don't care. Look, my dream when I was younger was to play for AC Milan. Obviously, that did not come to fruition. But if some other team, not Inter, called me up and said, "Nick, you need to come take this gig," right? And let's say it was like Torino or someone like that, and they said, "Well, Nick's dream job is Milan." I'd be like, "Yeah, but I'm not walking away from this one. If I can make this a successful run, I'm not leaving it. Have a great day." You can have childhood
Damn
ambition.
fine football team. Have a
Damn
great day.
fine.
Have a great day.
It's a great day. But you can say whatever you want. And you can have your favorite clubs, or the clubs that you dreamed of running. Imagining yourself in their kit, imagining yourself at the training ground. But dreams and reality are two different things, as the legend Ric Flair said. You have dreams, and I'm happy for you. But they're just that, dreams. Reality's Rolex watches, alligator shoes,
Ole Cassini's.
fine clothes,
Finest women.
the finest women. Woo!
Leicester's got finer women than Arsenal?
You got but you got to be born a champion. You got to have it inside you. You have to need it, want it, be willing to die for it. Make the assault on life itself, and that's what Leicester City's doing right now. They're making the assault on life itself.
Who would be the bigger heel if Brendan Rodgers leaves to go to Arsenal or Diego Costa going to Brazil? Who is the bigger heel?
Brendan Rodgers.
I don't know.
No, Diego, because Diego turned his back on a country.
Yeah.
He turned his back on a country.
But, man, if Brendan Rodgers walks back into Leicester, police escort.
What do you want to bet that Top locks the door? Changes the keys.
Yes.
It's like, here, go into this new dressing room, sir. And he wanders in. They lock the door behind him.
I mean, what could have happened at Brazil if Costa had gone there? If they had a striker of his size, and you're not having to rely just on Neymar to roll around on the ground like he had been shot in a
Get up, son.
horrific B mob movie.
Like Marvin Hagler when he did the Italian movies, when he was the heel, and all the Italian gangster flicks.
Look, I'm just saying, you turn your back on a country. Look, if Giuseppe Rossi walked into any MLS, like in the MLS Cup, in the
No,
Northeast
people
right
wouldn't
now,
care.
People still give him hate.
No, they don't.
Do you look at anything he tweets? Anytime that his name appears on Twitter?
No, Twitter numpties don't count. I'm talking about if he walked
Twitter
into a
numpties
team.
are people in real life.
No,
They
they're
have
not.
opinions.
Because they wouldn't actually say it in real life.
Yes, they would.
No, they
Yes,
wouldn't.
they
People
would.
Twitter
wouldn't
muscles.
care.
The
Twitter
same people-
muscles.
People would do the same thing you did about Serginho Dest and be like, yep, good on you. Right decision. Wait, if he had chosen the Netherlands like you said he should have,
I would tell
you
him
would
that
have been
to
like,
his
yep.
face.
Frank de Boer did.
I would tell him that to his face. I would say, Serge, you made the wrong move, my guy.
So you're going to tell
As long as
You're
I'm
gonna tell
not
Giuseppe
being
Rossi.
paid, as long as I'm not being paid by another company, I will voice my opinion during that period.
But the heel move, like out of those three, Giuseppe Rossi is like the mildest of mild heels.
Because
I just don't think
his
American
knees
soccer really.
exploded.
Well, there's that. There is a little
Had
bit of pity for him.
Had he been healthy and more successful, I think that would be on the
Maybe
same level.
you might be right, but
There are people who still, I'm one of them, boo Michael Bradley out of the building, and I say it on Twitter. I'm a boo this man out of the
That's
building.
different.
And I boo him out of the building.
that's different. I think a lot of American
Jersey
soccer
Outdoor, I
fans
boo him out of the
would
building.
think that Rossi made the right decision.
I completely bankrolled the move. I thought it was a fantastic.
I think he made the right
fantastic
decision. I do in that situation. I think he made the right decision. And I don't know how much of a heel he was because
Brendan Rodgers isn't leaving Leicester City. Man. Let's
he
get back to the
can't.
topic.
He
can't leave.
that would be
If he left and went to Arsenal, oh my hairy God!
like I do
Yeah.
think Diego Costa would be the bigger heel because you're going to be going to like 19 different places in the Brazilian Serie A and get seats thrown at you. Brendan Rodgers would get everything imaginable thrown at him at Leicester.
Yeah.
and that's so.
And if they play Celtic in the
so
Champions
1
League,
versus
because Celtic
19,
fans are not happy
So
either.
basically, 2 versus 19 is what you're looking.
Yeah, no, he's a bigger heel. Brazil's a big country.
Yeah.
But Brendan Rodgers would be a moron to leave Leicester and go to Arsenal.
Yes.
Because he could stay at Leicester, I think, as long as he wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't win. Because I think what he's doing this year, I think this is more impressive than when Leicester won the title. Because you're talking about a different level of competition with Manchester City and with Liverpool right now. I think it's a whole different world. And for Leicester to be where they are, this is more impressive. He can write how long he wants to be there, I think. I really think he can, because this is the second time around. You saw how fleeting it was the first time.
Mm-hmm.
This is the second time. This has brought the club back. If you get 2 years of European football, forget it.
Yeah.
Statue.
No.
Like,
Guaranteed.
why would you leave to go to a club that right now might not have European football and might not really be all that much closer to having it than where you're at?
Correct.
Other than
$18
name
million
value.
$18 million release clause.
It's like
in
the
his
Cowboys,
contract.
though. It's like when the Cowboys job opens up. Oh, who doesn't want to manage the Cowboys?
Want to bet?
Right?
You sit there and you run your mouth. No, I don't want to be the head
I
coach
know.
of the Cowboys, and all of a sudden they come knocking on your door.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah,
I love that.
Wow, sure, that'd be great and wonderful. I mean, but yeah, because
Depends on the gig you're in. I think there are gigs that you should be like, you know
I
what?
mean, if you're on the beach and
I'm
you
not
sit there and
taking
you
it.
say,
Oh,
that,
of course.
no, I don't want to. I would never manage I've never coached the Cowboys, and all of a sudden, Jarrah calls you. You'd be, yeah, it'd be great.
You're going to at least take the call. You will take the call if you know.
Okay, here's what Rodgers said when he was asked about it. He says, okay, I moved after nearly 3 years at Celtic, and people may look at me thinking, right, because a club like Arsenal with the great institution and size and all that, but it's all about happiness, and I couldn't be happier here. My contract is until 2022, and the club haven't said they want to release me from that.
Let me go ahead and give another side of this. Brendan Rodgers is a man whose life was in turmoil following Liverpool. Right? Remember, he got a divorce. He was walking around with a pretty young starlet there for a little bit.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. This is a man who knows what turmoil in life is, right? Whose star fell pretty quickly. I don't think he is quite ready to relive those days. And as a result of that, I think he wants a little bit of stability and security. You know?
That's a good point. He should.
I just think that no one wants to relive those rough days. If you can avoid it. And for anyone out there who's thinking about getting into those rough days, let me tell you from experience, don't get into those rough days. It's not worth it. And because your star can fall faster than you think it can. And Brendan Rodgers, I think, is a guy who...
I made a choice 9 months ago to come here for a purpose. The purpose was very clear in that I wanted to help this club move forward out of where it was when I came in and looking to lead it forward with a group I feel has huge potential. Why would I want to move from that?
No.
He needs to stay and get a couple years of European football and raise where that club is, because I think that's absolutely capable. I think you can make that happen there. If you have not seen the video, I just retweeted it from my account at Longshoe, of Diego Simeone on the touchline during the Messi goal yesterday.
Yep.
It's amazing because it's the whole build up to it where he's like screaming at defenders, like waving his arms, trying to get them in the right position, leaning in, like he knows what's coming. And at the end of it, he's just like, he throws his hands up, like, what can you do?
Yep.
Applauds.
Yep.
I mean, it's an incredible video. Whoever had the mindset
Pam.
to get this on video is incredible. Speaking of cams for managers, we did not talk about Diego Maradona reversing his decision to leave Gimnasia.
Good.
Going back. He got a draw this weekend. He's actually had a really strong impact on that team on the field. They might not stay up because, I mean, you're talking about the 3 years of Promedios that get you relegated. So they've been bad for a while. But he came into a team that, if I remember right, had lost 4 times and drawn once. He's got 3 wins and a draw. He's got 6 losses, but you're talking about a bad team.
Yeah.
It's possible they stay up. It's not looking good, but you've got a couple teams that are really close. You've got, if I'm not mistaken, 8 more matches in the current Superliga season, plus the 11 of the Copa de Superliga. So you've got 19 games that you're looking at. Mm-hmm. You've got one team that's in the mix that got promoted this year, so their number of games and points, like a couple losses, has a dramatic impact for them. So Maradona might be able to make this happen for Gimnasia, but he's going to stick around. And we're going to get more Diego Cam.
Oh. What country is this all happening in again?
Argentina.
Okay.
Do we how can we watch these games?
Yeah.
Fanatis.
Oh, okay.
I need a kickback code, Fanatis.
I will say this.
I am tweeting at people that you can watch games on Fanatis.
I'm not saying
Hook
that
a brother up.
There's crooked action taking place in Argentina. All I'm saying.
Why are you not saying
he's
that?
He's rocking back in his chair when he says it.
I was like, why are you not saying that?
I would not be terribly shocked if some magical weird results happen and El Diego keeps the team up. That's all I'm saying. In all countries that this could happen, I would say they would be done for.
I don't know. There's a bunch of teams in the mix there. That's the problem.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's exactly why it's going to happen.
It's going to take a lot of crooked actions, and I don't know if you can pull all those off.
I think there's enough people in the right places, enough community organizers that are for-profit that can make that happen.
It's possible. I don't know how much strength Gimnasia has. If it was River or Boca or one of the big boys, I could absolutely get with that. I don't know if he can pull that off. The thing about the Superliga right now, so Lanús has finished up their match for the day. They drew with Arsenal. Nobody in the top wants to win. It's Boca and Argentinos played this weekend, number 1 and number 2. They drew. River is a game in hand on Boca and Argentinos. They won. They went to Newell's and won. Pochettino was in the stands in Rosario, walking in like a pimp into the stadium with his boys. Like, he got the back door, like behind the velvet rope. Like, they opened everything for Pochettino. He is a legend there. One of the stands, so it's the Bielsa Stadium. I think you have a stand named for Maradona, who played 5 games there. You have a stand for Tata Martino. You're going to have a Pochettino stand. Like, it'll happen here soon enough. So River goes to Rosario and wins. Lanús, with the draw, they're 3 points back from the top. Mm-hmm. But 1, 2, and 4, and 5, Racing drew this weekend. Racing drew with Defensa y Justicia. Second-minute goal.
My boys.
Racing had a player who played for Miami FC in the North American Soccer League equalize.
Go ahead.
It happened.
Hey, good for you.
I mean,
and look,
it's the craziness of the Argentine league.
Man. I'm convinced that one of us could go in and make it happen in Argentina. I'm just convinced.
Who was it that scored, by the way?
It was Dario Savitanic.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, played for them in 16 or was it 17? I think it was 16, and then I think he left. Went from Pachuca to Miami FC, back to Argentina. Now he's at Racing. So the top of the table, you've got the 2 teams on 29. You've got River with a game in hand on 27. You've got Lanús on 26, Racing on 26, Vélez on 25, Atlético Tucumán on 24, Rosario Central, Talleres, Estudiantes, San Lorenzo, all on 23, 6 points back. That gets you to 11th place. It's bonkers, as usual.
Which is why it's is it? Can we call it the official league of the SDH universe?
I think it is. I think it is. I think the Scottish Premier League is going to move into a conversation here because of a new relationship.
Yes.
But I think the Superliga is that league because it's insane.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's a league where
It's
they
the
throw
crazy
toilets
Eddie
at
of
people.
soccer is what you're saying.
That
It
wasn't
is.
even the
It's
league.
crazy,
That
Eddie.
was the cup.
It is
That was the
crazy.
Copa Argentina, and they were throwing toilets at one another.
Yeah.
Here, you just have the game stop for 30 minutes because Diego Maradona returns to a place that he played 5 games at, and they bring a throne out for him.
A throne.
Mm-hmm.
A throne.
He autographs the throne.
He autographed the throne and then sat in the throne to manage the game and whooped the home team's butt 4-0.
Oh, I thought you were going to use a different term.
Hey, look.
Whooped.
Whooped that,
Whooped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we actually have games tomorrow in the Premier League?
Yeah, it's one of those weird weeks.
Because I think, is it FA Cup this weekend, next weekend or something?
Could be. You've had the lower round FA Cup stuff going on ESPN Plus, and there's been some choice action.
That is so much fun to watch.
Yes.
There's some craziness, like just like tiny
Who were the Jammers?
little teams. Oh man, I can't remember who the Jammers were. They were gonna be my new favorite team, but then they lost in the 90th minute, so they got eliminated. They're not my new favorite team.
They're not my new favorite.
No, I was hoping for the Jammers.
Yes.
No, I think my new favorite team has to be Aberdeen. I mean, this has been a really cool situation. So Nick has no idea what's going on.
Malden and
He's
Tiptree.
in Italy.
Yeah.
Malden and Tiptree, yes. They lost the chance to be the official team of soccer down here.
So I think when this news broke, if I remember correctly, I think I was in Florence, and I was in the middle of devouring a Florentine bistecca, which is
Not bad.
a cut of cow, which is
Not small?
no. No, not at all. Like it is like the video is the only thing that will do it justice.
It'll be posted soon to the SDH network.
We will. We're right here on the SDH network, and I will tell you that it is a sublime cut of meat. And I remember looking at this thinking, like, what in God's name is this relationship? Are they going to be like a glorified academy for us, where we can bleed some players, in competition other than USL? Is this like Jason? What's happening with this? Man? I don't know.
It's an interesting relationship. I really do think it's a genuine partnership that can benefit both sides.
Yep.
It's the Scottish Premier League, the level, it's really hard to judge because you have players there who I think can play in Major League Soccer and benefit Atlanta United. But you also have a situation like John Gallagher going there from the twos and stepping into a lineup and playing a good bit, but not being a lockdown starter.
Right.
It's very uneven, I think, even across a roster, let alone the league. So what Aberdeen brings to the table for Atlanta United is they are very good at developing talent. They have a strong academy. They do amazing work in their community. They were awarded the UEFA Grassroots Club of the Year for their community work.
Wow. Okay.
And you're talking about 100-plus years of history, you know? And I do think it becomes a situation where, you know, Dion Pereira, for example, would be a player that, you know, obviously would be able to go there. There's not a work permit issue. And you have him under contract here. There's not enough games for him right now. You don't feel like going to play for the twos would be something beneficial. Sending him to Aberdeen could be. You have players coming through Aberdeen, young players coming up, who I think could come over here and spend time with the twos, get training time with the first team, get an opportunity to see them. I think for Atlanta United, you get to tap into Aberdeen's scouting network in the UK and in Europe. For Aberdeen, they get to tap into Atlanta United's scouting network in the Americas. I think if you're Aberdeen, for me, one of the number one things that they can benefit from this is scouting Major League Soccer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I think there's talent in MLS that, you know, guys who are, you know, second or third on a depth chart who aren't playing a ton, who can go over there to that team and play and have a big impact straight away. Mm-hmm. I think there's a big opportunity for Aberdeen there. And I think it gives you a spot where you're not going in to rescue a team. This is a team that's not in major debt. It's a team that I don't think has any debt. You're talking about a club that's trying to build a new stadium. They're trying to grow. You're going in really in a no-lose situation. You've invested, I think the reported numbers are going to be around $2.5 million. You own less than 10% of the team. But you have, you know, skin in the game. It's not just a marketing relationship. It's not just, okay, Aberdeen shirts will be in the Atlanta United store and Atlanta United shirts will be in the Aberdeen store. It's more than that. I think there are certain areas where both teams can benefit from this. I think the player part of it is one element, but not the only element. I just think it's very cool that now, like, what I've seen that's been so organic out of this is I've done a couple podcasts in Scotland. You have a lot of people who are really interested, and the attitude from them has been great.
Really?
It's been very excited about this.
I was expecting a lot of pushback.
No, it's been generally very, very excited about it. Because I think they see the benefit from it, and I think the perception of MLS is very different than it used to be. Mm-hmm. And Atlanta being the club that's doing it also changes it, because it's hard to have a lot of negativity about somebody, one, who is putting money into your club, two, who is drawing 50,000 plus to their stadium and has won trophies straight away. Like, it's hard to have a lot of negativity about this. If this was, you know, the Houston Dynamo doing it out of nowhere, maybe that relationship wouldn't feel as strong. This feels really genuine, and I think Aberdeen feels like it'll better their club. And I think now you have Aberdeen fans who are like, well, what's going on in Atlanta? I want to learn more about this team. Just like there's Atlanta United fans who were asking me all weekend, like, how can I watch? You know, I signed up for Red TV. I watched the game this weekend. You know, this is a club that there's talent there. There's good players in this team.
How do I watch these games again?
So Red TV, Scotland, the TV rights are weird. Red TV, you can watch internationally any game that they have. Bleacher Report Live has some kind of deal with the Scottish Premiership, but I think it's mostly around Celtic and Rangers.
Yeah.
Like, they don't put every game there. Like, Aberdeen game wasn't there this weekend.
Okay.
It's just Celtic and Rangers games.
Can I get this on Roku? Is this something like Red TV?
I did it just through the website, and I did the website on Amazon Fire TV, and it was great.
All right, I imagine it's probably, if it's on Amazon, if it's on the Fire Stick, I imagine it's on Roku.
Hold your thought on that, because I might have some insider information that there could be a discount for Atlanta United fans coming on the Red TV.
Okay, all right.
So I'm just saying. So if you're interested, you know, if you want to jump in now, okay, go ahead and jump in. But there could be a discounted rate coming for you.
Where else are you guys finding that information, huh? Nowhere else.
Nowhere.
Just
Zero.
here. Just on the network.
Mm-hmm. That's maybe it's something that could be talked about, and that was something that both both sides talked about after the big press conference is that over the next 90 days, they're going to find these different ways to grow the relationship. And I do think that next summer we will have Aberdeen supporters coming over in numbers to Atlanta United matches. And I think we'll have Atlanta United supporters who go to Scotland to see Aberdeen.
And we got to figure out how to do the show from Aberdeen.
It's not that hard.
If someone gives me the sponsorship
That's
dollars
what
to
I'm
go on
saying.
an airplane,
Yeah,
baby, I'm
sponsorship
going.
dollars, yes.
I'm going.
I mean, that part's the only thing that's hard, like actually doing the show.
Yeah. No, the sponsorship dollars to pay for travel and lodging and room and board.
We can look. I do not require room and board. You get me a cardboard box that's like slightly folded. I can sleep on it. All right.
See, it's not too bad. Sakib is saying it's not too bad to go to
It's
Aberdeen.
not too bad. Look, just give me a patch
Well,
of grass.
you might be sponsoring the trip.
There you go.
Okay.
So
All right.
That's a fair trade because I do require room and board.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
sorry.
You
Yes,
let me know.
I do
I'll sleep
too.
in a car. I don't care. I'll sleep in a car. I'm on board for this though. We
Yeah.
need to make this happen.
No
Can
doubt.
we make some more creative T-shirts that people can
Yes.
buy and that'll help sponsor our adventures?
Yes, we need people to buy said creative T-shirts
Yes.
too.
Because-
there you go.
And because here's something that almost happened. We were so close to having this happen. A little team called Arezzo in Italy was ready to welcome us with open arms. We're going to have the network there on site, and then our driver took us to San Gimignano instead of back to Florence, and so I missed the train.
Oh, no.
And I was going to have to take the not a high speed train, but like the standard. Like the standard metro train. It would have taken 2 hours. I would have missed half the game. And there was not a guaranteed metro train back within the time frame that I wanted to go in. And so I have a standing deal with Arezzo to come back and bring the network, and
Okay.
they will do interviews and all that. So buy our shirts and get us back over there.
And also, if you have not had the chance, listen to the interview that Jason did with Derek Ray.
Ooh.
That's on the network.
Okay.
Derek Ray's awesome, by
Yes.
the way. So full disclosure, since we're at the end of the show,
Yep.
technical difficulties. I pulled a John.
Okay.
The call didn't record the first time. Derek Ray is so awesome that he took time the next day to redo it. And I think it was better too. Like I think it was better because we'd kind of went through it. We didn't just repeat it. Like it was really good.
That's you know what?
But Derek's the man.
All joking aside, when you find someone who's willing to like of that status,
Yeah.
I mean, who's willing to say, "No problem, man. Let's do it again." That's really something. That says a lot about him.
Derek's awesome. It's been really cool. Like everybody I've dealt with. So Derek passed my information around. I did an Aberdeen podcast that covers the team specifically called Here We Go. And I did Pure Fitball, which is more of a general Scotland podcast. But everybody has been really receptive to this. It's been very cool to see that perception of Major League Soccer change because 10 years ago, it wouldn't be like this. And I think for a lot of clubs, maybe it wouldn't be like this. But because of what Atlanta's built, they've turned heads. You know, this is a really big deal. And I think it's been underplayed in the national media. I think it is a way forward. I think it's something that you could see Atlanta potentially do with other clubs. And Darren Eales told Doug Robertson that, you know, this could be something that you see them do again. This is a little bit of a trial run. It's a smart investment. I mean, $2.5 million in the grand scheme of things is not a gigantic investment. I think you're going to get a return on this.
Yeah.
I think you should. I think you should go ahead and maybe give about $2 million to a certain team in Rosario. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, just throwing that down there.
I'm okay with this idea. That might be a little trickier when you're dealing with those business dealings and stuff.
Look, talk
Maybe,
to,
possibly.
I'm used to working with
threw
certain
toilets,
for-profit
sir.
community organizers, and
They threw toilets.
Look, we're not gonna. We will talk to our people about not throwing toilets. But
Okay.
I'm just saying, if you talk to me, I
too
can
much heavy
facilitate
lifting.
some connections. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Ooh, we'll see. Maybe. I don't know. Okay. Mexico's gone crazy with their Ligia, if you haven't been paying attention. So, playoffs. First off, everybody's like, MLS has playoffs. Oh, that's so terrible. I think every country in North America has playoffs. I think all of CONCACAF has some kind of playoff now that I'm going through them. But Mexico has, I think, the best playoff format.
Okay.
Top 8 teams get in.
Yep.
1 plays 8, 2 plays 7, 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5.
2 legs.
2 legs across the board, all the way
Beautiful.
through. You play Wednesday, Saturday, or Thursday, Sunday. And then you do the same for the semis, and you do the same for the final.
Mm-hmm.
The number 1 seed lost.
Uh-huh.
The number 2 seed lost. The number 3 seed lost.
Whoa.
The number 4 seed lost.
Wait, what?
5, 6, 7, and 8 won.
Yeah. So that's your semifinals in the Apertura.
Yes.
It was amazing.
Great.
Absolutely amazing.
I love it.
And when you have
And big, like, high-scoring
was
aggregates,
it
too.
6-3?
You had, like, a 5-4. You had a 6-2. I mean, you had some crazy ones.
Oh, I love it.
It was madness.
That is magnificent.
Yeah, it was tremendous television too. And going in all of our messages, it's like, okay, so it was it last night? It was America and
FS2 had the Monterrey
Yes.
Santos game in English, which was awesome. Who was doing play-by-play? He's new that they started working through on the Liga MX games in English.
Yeah.
Adrian Marquez, I believe. I hope I'm getting that right. He is awesome.
Love it.
Love his work. And Kobe Jones with him, they were great. That was a really
Adrian
fun
Garcia-Marquez.
broadcast. Adrian Garcia Marquez is awesome. Highly recommended checking a game out that he does. But then you had the game on Tudene, the nightcap, that I could not stay up for. The eyes were getting too heavy.
Yep.
John did.
Yep.
And it was pretty bonkers, too.
Bananas.
You had Piojo, Miguel Herrera, and you had Tuca Ferretti like hugging afterwards because it was so much madness.
Exhausted.
Like Herrera goes to console Tuca Ferretti afterwards
Wow.
because it was such craziness.
Good night. So
Yeah.
it sounds to me like there's a little bit of insanity happening.
It's
across the
Mexico.
board.
Evil
It
twin
happens.
Rogelio Funes Mori versus the Emperor of Gold's Julio Cesar Furch.
Furch. I like Furch. It was good. It's been really good. The playoffs kick back up on Wednesday this week. Like it's Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday. Like it just keeps going. The Liga MX Femenil first leg of the final happened this weekend too. 41,000 fans
That was
at
awesome.
Tigres.
That
It's
was
Tigres
great.
and Monterrey, so you're getting the Clásico Regio. Those are the top 2 women's teams in Mexico, and they've met in the final before. They're doing it again. 1-1 in the first leg. It was a really entertaining game. The weirdness that they haven't scheduled the second leg, and I think part of it was because of Monterrey and Tigres still alive in the Liguilla on the men's side, and there was a little bit of questions about TV and stadium availability and this and that. So hopefully that second leg gets scheduled here quickly, and that game will be one that you gotta see because it was a really well played match. Like it's a different style than the NWSL. You don't have the same level of athleticism, but you have a different savviness. I think with the way the game's played, it's not as direct.
Yeah.
It's a little slower paced in the middle third, but then the final third, you get a lot of creativity. It's a really interesting league to watch, and the level has gotten better and better and better to the point that now you got the Houston Dash trying to recruit 2 of the top players from Tigres to come in, which makes a ton of sense for Houston.
They better. But,
Yeah.
I mean, look, and this shot is mainly across the U.S. women's national team bow. They got to watch out because as these other leagues start investing seriously in the women's game, the tactical knowledge that is going to be fed to them, stand by because your days at the top could be,
What does the
Very
NWSL do in return?
yeah.
Okay, so we're going to end with 2 bits of MLS news that we will get deeper into on Soccer Down here tomorrow.
Yes.
Inter Miami expected to name a head coach this week. They're kind of running out of time.
Yeah.
And 2 high-profile designated players by the end of the month. It's from the Miami Herald an hour ago.
Is it an artist rendering of a manager that they're going to release in the next couple of days, or an actual human being?
No, it'll just be when they get Patrick Vieira out of his contract.
But they've also added AJ De La Garza. And-
Yes, they did.
And
That's not quite the same level of conversation that we're having
talk
right
of Luis
now.
Robles, too.
No, they've got Luis Robles.
Well, then
That's
there you
done. Still not quite the same as high-profile
Designated players.
But here's the other bit of news that we will get deeper into. An outlet that Nick knows pretty well, Calcio Mercato, is reporting that Inter and Roma are keeping tabs on one Ezequiel Barco.
I will. Inter makes sense because of Lautaro Martinez. They see what a significant return on investment that's been, and obviously it's a club that has historical ties to Argentina as well. So that doesn't shock me. I really hope to God, please God, don't go there. Don't go to Inter.
That would be rough for you, wouldn't it?
It would be so terrible.
You would have an Inter Barco jersey.
No.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, you would. That'll happen.
I will never, ever own an Inter jersey in my life. Any Inter jersey that is given to me will be handed immediately to the local.
I thought you were going to say set aflame.
No, because if it's a gift, I'm not going to burn a gift. You're
going to re-gift.
I would re-gift it to any sort of individual who I know who just needs a Christmas gift in general. Like, are we going to this person's house? What can I give them? Oh, I have this Inter jersey I can give them. I wouldn't give it to children. Because I'm not trying to put that kind of shame,
that kind of juju on it.
Yeah, on a child. I would never do that.
By the way, thank you for what you gave me before we started the show.
Oh my God, yeah, happy to do it. And Jason, yours is on the way. I try to make sure that any gifts given are not of, that they're solid quality. That's my go-to. I'm glad you enjoy it, sir. I hope you enjoy it for many years to come.
Oh.
But I will say that Roma would make sense for Barco, I think.
Roma? Barco, Roma.
I think Barco would do really well in Serie A in general. I think the style of play, I think it'd be a good fit for him. I thought Miguel Almiron should have went to Italy if he could have found the right money, because he would kill it in Serie A.
He got his first assist on the weekend.
He did. It's good to see. I'm so over this nonsense about he's been disappointing because he's not scoring goals. Like, did you pay any attention to his game here? Because it was not based on scoring goals.
No.
Anyway, maybe one day he will get the respect that he deserves. Maybe Ezequiel Barco will get the respect that he deserves. It sounds like he's starting to get it, because in the last week he's been linked to Sporting Lisbon, which just opened the door, Arsenal, Manchester United, Inter, and Roma.
That's a few.
So.
And let me tell you, Roma, from a spending perspective, if the transfer fee's about anywhere between 25 to 30 mil,
that's where I think your ballpark starts.
Roma can be there, but Inter can be there tomorrow.
Okay.
Inter has the cash flexibility to be there immediately.
Right.
Roma may have to move a piece or two around to maintain financial fair play compliance.
Okay. So those are realistic. They're not like
very
pie in the
realistic.
sky.
Yes.
It's not Milan coming in for him.
No.
Okay.
If Milan,
just checking.
If somebody talked to me about Milan swooping in for $30 million, I'd tell you to get lost.
30 million what would be the question?
Yeah, 30 million what? 30 million seashells? You bring in 30 million seashells to the...
Yes. I don't think that's going to work.
No.
Don't think that's going to cut it.
No, it's not going to work.
All right.
And then the other thing that we got to talk about in the morning, too.
What?
The Brooks Lennon sign.
The what?
The Brooks Lennon event.
Yes, the Brooks Lennon trade, $300,000 in allocation money went to Real Salt Lake, which feels like a steal. Mm-hmm. You added a lot of depth. Lennon can play anywhere on the right side. He has played a little on the left side. I think he can give you cover there too. And he's under contract for another year. I don't know what the option situation is for him after this year, but you're adding to your depth chart. And that's what top clubs do. And I think Lennon was a guy who kind of fell down the depth chart at Real Salt Lake. This is an opportunity for him. I think he's a fit. I think his style of play is an absolute fit for Frank de Boer. So I love it. I'm excited about it. We'll see what other moves start to happen. You're starting to get a bunch of those around the league. We'll be talking about it tomorrow. Not at the normal time. I need some time in the morning, folks. So we're going to start brunch time. Tuesday brunch.
Okay.
11 o'clock.
All right.
That's when the show's going to start.
Makes sense.
I need 2 hours. Is that fair?
I'm down with OPP.
All right. So 11 o'clock tomorrow for those of you listening live. We'll have soccer down here. We'll be tweeting all that out, so don't freak out when we're not there at 9 o'clock. All right. But we'll be back here next week, and it's a very important next week because it is the official 2020 CONCACAF Champions League draw episode of Soccer Over There. Yes. If you are an Atlanta United fan listening to this show and you want to come watch the draw with us, come watch. We'll have everything ready to go on all of the teams in the competition. We will give you the breakdown of players to watch. We'll give you histories. We will get you set for the CONCACAF Champions League. The draw will be next week. We'll be doing all of that here at the Brewhouse Cafe.
I am a tremendous fan of all of this.
I just want to go to Jamaica.
hey, we're going to do everything we can.
Just hoping for Jamaica.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Well, I don't get to participate in those, so I'm hoping for a good game.
Sponsors.
Sponsors make it happen.
Sponsors.
We'll do soccer. We'll do soccer over there live from
SDH
Jamaica. Where's Nick?
on the
He's
road, brother.
incapacitated.
Yeah.
What a great show.
Nick has a lampshade on
Brought
his
to
head.
us by Red Stripe. It's Nick Alifi. Nick.
Fantastic analysis, Nick. Thanks for joining.
There we go. That'll work.
Until then, until next time.
Until next time, because I think we're done.
Yeah, we're done. Mucha, Euro, y'all.
All the lira.